It's time to say goodbye to the books, not booktube, just some books. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Brie and this is 4 Paws in a Book. It's been a while since I have done an unhaul, so this is a ruthless unhaul. I was inspired by Claire over at Claire's Neverland of Books. She posted a massive unhaul, like over 100 books, and and then I was like, you know, this is gonna push me into gear because I was already thinking I should do an unhaul, and then that prompted me to start taking books off the shelves. I don't have 125 books, but I do have over 60, and we're gonna talk about them. Most of these books will be on my Pango shop, and for 1 week after this video goes live, I'm going to be doing a 20% off sale off of everything that is in my store. No minimum limit, nothing like that. So if you want to take advantage of that, if you live in the United States, I also have a coupon. If you are a first-time Pango user, you can use my code 4PAWS. You get $5 off of your first purchase. You have to, like, it has to be a new account. But if you've never tried Pango, let me tell you, it is one of the most fantastic platforms out there. It's basically free books because I sell all these things on here, and then I have a little bank of Pango bucks, and then I use those to buy more books. It's basically like getting free books. Girl math. And I need to replenish my Pango buck stock. So here we are. I'm going to try to break these up into genres, and then I'll put timestamps below. So if you're interested in only a specific genre, you can just skip to that. But yeah, 60 books. Some I've read, some I have not. That's okay. And then when I do my quarterly wrap up, I will talk about my physical TBR number and how this kind of helps that out. So I think we're going to start with thrillers and horrors because they are right here. So we used to live here by Marcus Klewer. This was all the rage at the end of last year. Everybody was loving this book, and I read this for BookTuber favorites, and I only ended up giving it 3 stars. It was not my favorite, so I'm going to release it. I'm going to give it to somebody who will absolutely love it. I have a couple of Darcy Coates here. I was on a mission to, like, basically own every single Darcy Coates book, but I only have 1 shelf for it, and so the ones that, like, I only gave 3 stars to, I'm going to let go. So Dead of Winter, this is more of a thriller. It's kind of like a 1-by-1 trope. And I've kind of discovered that I just don't love her thrillers as much. And then House of Shadows, this is her, like, historical horror. I read this one actually last year during Amazing Readathon, and it was fine, but it was a 3-star read, and it's part of a series, and I don't want to continue the series. Then we have A Leech by Hiran Ennis. I have not read this one. I actually picked this one up for a BookTuber favorites last year. So January of 2024, and then I didn't end up reading it for that and have no desire to pick it up now. I've heard that it's really, really slow. I've heard that, like, there's some really good commentary in it, but the actual story itself is really slow. I have The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. I remember hearing really, really good things about this when it first came out, but the more time has passed, the less interested I'm in about it. So there's just some things about this book that I don't think I will enjoy, so we're going to let it go. Again, we're just finding better homes for this. I don't want anything in the comments about, like, why do you buy books and then you don't read them? Listen, it happens. When we make book content, sometimes we end up, you know, getting books, and they're not, they don't end up being ones that we're going to read. Our tastes change every couple of years, and so books that have been on the shelves for a really, really long time, I may not be able to, you know, make content about them. When reading becomes your job and reading becomes, like, how you make content, it happens, and I can either let the books sit on my shelves and collect dust, or I can find them a home where someone's going to love it. Murder Road by Simone St. James. I actually had this one on my June TBR. I didn't get to it, and I don't see a reason why I would pick it up. I've only heard mid things about it, and I can very easily get it on Libby if I want to. Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murders. This is more of a cozy, quirky mystery, and that's just not what I'm reading anymore. Same with The Appeal by Janice Hallett. I had an idea for content for this a couple of years ago, and it's just not what my audience is tailored towards anymore, and so it's like the video would end up flopping. So I'm not going to read it. And then a couple of books that I have read and I'm just not going to reread and I don't need to have on my shelves. I'm getting to the point where I am starting to run out of room, and so for books that, like, I don't want to reread, I don't think I would recommend, like, use for videos and things like that, I'm just gonna let go. So They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. I read this one last year and enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. I will read the favorites from her, but I don't need to keep this one. And then 2 John Mars books that I actually read this month. You Killed Me First, which is his newest release. I I literally just got this one, and then The Marriage Act, which I just finished. And they were like, this one was, I didn't really like this one. This one was pretty good, but I just don't think I will reread it. It's my least favorite in his like sci-fi thrillers. All right, next up we have sci-fi. I was pretty ruthless about the sci-fi books just because I know that it's not a genre that I'm reading very much anymore. It's not one that I'm gravitating towards, and so these books are just going to continue to sit on my shelves. It's fine. I'm just gonna let them, you know, release them. So Winter's Orbit and Ocean's Echo, I actually did read these. I've read them several years ago, but I loved them. I gave them both 5 stars. I don't think that I will reread it, and so we're gonna find a new home for them. Severance by Ling Ma. I don't even know why I got this one. It's book of the month. First off, the cover's really ugly, but secondly, it's like a COVID book. I think it's like COVID plus other things. I'm not gonna read it. I'm sorry. If I do, it'll end up being 3 stars. Odessa. This is a graphic novel, like a dystopian graphic novel, and the art is just so small in it. And so like I actually did start this and I was having a hard time just like really following along, and so I don't need it. Fable for the End of the World by Ava Reed. I did read this one for a new releases video. It's beautiful. It's a stunning book, and I wish that I liked the book more. I think that it can be a favorite for some people. It just really missed the mark. Dystopians for me are very hit or miss. Like I love the concept of them, but a lot of times they don't go deep enough for me and I have more questions. And so they're just not like, they end up being 3 stars, which is what that was. The Memory Librarian and Other Stories of Dirty Computer. This is like a short story collection. I've had this for a couple of years. I think I got it at like a Barnes & Noble 50% off sale. I'm not gonna pick it up. An Unkindness of Ghost by River Solomon. I did read this one last year for Amazing Readathon, and I enjoyed it, but I'm not going to reread it, and I don't need to have a physical copy of it. Cascade Failure by, who is this by? L.M. Sagas. I bought this book, I think from like a library sale or something like that, because Leandra was starting it, and I was like, oh, that's a very interesting concept. And then I happened to like find it the next day at this library sale, so I picked it up. By the time she finished the book, she gave it like 1 star. And so I was like, well, just kidding. So yeah, dystopian sci-fi. You'll see a pattern here. Into the Sunken City by Dinesh Tharu. This is another like dystopian sci-fi. It's YA too. You'll see a lot of YA books in here. I am not gravitating towards YA. Even in some of like even in romantasy, I'm getting rid of some YA books just because like I'm not gravitating towards them. And so because of that, like they're sitting on the shelf, just kind of wasting space. The Future by Naomi Alderman. This was a book of the month book. Like it sounds interesting, but it's one that like I don't need to have a physical copy of. I read this one already, Wrong Place at Wrong Time by Jillian McAllister. I read it a couple years ago. I actually really enjoyed it, but again, I don't need a physical copy of it. That's just kind of the theme of today. And then funny story behind this one, A Brief History of Living Forever. This one was on a spreadsheet that I had given to some friends for a video project, and I was like, hey, can you like pick a book from this list? And I think it was Lexi specifically was like, you could probably just get rid of A Brief History of Living Forever because it's not good. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, now let's move into the fantasy and the romantasy. I think it's kind of a little bit split here, but yeah, we'll just start here. Okay, I am going to be getting rid of the YA series from Django Wexler. I read Ship of Smoke and Steel 3 years ago at this point. I would need to reread this series to continue on. And then I think I actually remember like trying this one and was like lost. And so then I was like, well, I'm going to have to reread the first one. And that's just not going to happen at this point. So we're going to find a new home for them. I have a couple of Illumicrate books that are just not ones that I really am interested in. The Prince Without Sorrow. This is one of the newest ones that I just forgot to skip. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous cover, but it's not a, it's just not a story that I'm that interested in. So someone else will love it. And then The Principle of Moments was actually like the very first one that I got, so you can't skip it. I guess this is actually probably more sci-fi than fantasy, but it's an interesting concept, but I don't need a special edition of it. It's also got time travel, and those are really, really hit or miss with me. And then Yumi and the Nightmare Painter by Brandon Sanderson. I think I wanted to try this, but I don't think that it's actually a standalone. Like, it's marketed as a standalone, but it really isn't. And I just don't want to start that big long series. I I don't have the time for that. Also, I've heard that not all of them are that great. So, you know, there's that. And then a couple of Olive Blake books, Masters of Death and One for My Enemy. I have just kind of figured out that Olive Blake, her writing style is not for me. Some people absolutely love her books. I'm not one of them. Can't Spell Treason Without a T by Rebecca Thorne. I want to love this book. Wanted to love it, okay? It's sapphic, but it also is pirates, and that is sometimes not a hit for me, and it's cozy. And that's usually not a hit for me. Listen, the author, fantastic. I love her TikToks, and she's so petty. The second book, there was a 1-star review that was like, there's too many lesbians. And so in the second book, it's dedicated to that review and being like, just for you, there's more lesbians in this one. And like, I want to appreciate that pettiness, but it's just not my style of book. I decided to finally part with my Terra Sim series. I have books 1 and 2 in the Timekeeper series, which is her YA ones. They're like steampunk. They should be Brie books, but they are YA. And then her adult books, I have City of Dusk and Midnight Kingdom. I've read City of Dusk, but I would have to reread it in order to go to Midnight Kingdom. And when I read it, it was only 3 stars. And I don't think I want to reread a 3-star book. So yeah, but this one has been like, I have held on to this book for so long because I'm like, I'm gonna love this book. And like, it feels like this should have a lot of Brie buzzwords in it, but the execution just wasn't there. And so like, I don't know why I'm thinking that we're gonna magically fix that in the second book. City of Stairs by Robert Jackson Bennett. I know a lot of people really, really love this book, but I just don't, I'm not in an epic fantasy mood. I could be convinced, okay? I could be convinced to read this book or to take it off of this unhaul pile, but I think it'll end up sitting there again for a long time. And then a couple of YA fantasy books that again, I'm just not gravitating towards anymore. Isle of Blood and Stone by Makia Lucier, Song of Silver Flame Like Night by Emil Winslow. They're like younger YA stories. And this one makes me a little bit sad, but again, I'm just not gravitating towards it. But the Tiger at Midnight series by Swati Tirthala. I read the first one, I really enjoyed it, and then I have the second and third one. This is why you don't buy books from, like, you don't buy the whole series at the same time. You can't do that. Because it's going to be a while before I want to read this. I'm wanting more adult themes, more mature themes in my stories, and I'm not finding that in YA, which is not, like, it's not supposed to be there, but because I rank off of enjoyment, I would end up ranking it or like rating it a little bit lower just because it didn't have what I wanted, even though I'm not the target audience. Okay, my camera decided it was just gonna completely shut off and didn't save the last clip. So, love that for me. Don't know where I left off. Don't know where that clip started. We're gonna talk about romantasy. I am terrified that something is wrong with my camera because it didn't actually tell me that I had a low battery. So that's really fun, but I changed out the battery and now it seems to be working again. So fingers crossed that it will still work. Here we go. We're going to start with romantasy. We're going to start with special editions because I have several of them. So we have Rise of the Dawnbringer and Prophecy of Undone. These were part of the Unplugged Advent box from Unplugged Book Box that I got for Christmas. And these were 2 that I wasn't really interested in to begin with, but you had to get the whole box in order to get the ones that I wanted. And yeah, they're gonna end up sitting on my shelf, so we'll find a better home for them. They're gorgeous books. They have these like metal corners to them, gorgeous, but I'm not gonna read them. Then Five Broken Blades by Mike Corland. I heard mid things about this one, and then the second one came out, and now the third one's about to come out, and I haven't started the series. And if I wanted my books to match, I would need to do that, and we all know we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't buy books. I'm learning. See, we shouldn't buy books if I haven't read the first one yet. Here we go. So I'm just gonna let it go. I can get it from Libby if I decide I want to read it. I have not been body snatched. Don't worry. Do not be alarmed. I'm getting rid of House of Bane and Blood, but only this edition. Okay, don't worry. I have 5 editions of this book, and I will get a 6th when the traditional published cover comes out because it's stunning. She's gorgeous. Okay, and also Fabled was a little shady with their customer service. It wasn't great with a friend of mine, and so this one was like sitting up on the shelf where like it's right behind where I film. And so when I got my coveted cover, which is a beautiful, beautiful edition, I'm gonna get rid of this one. I just swapped it out. Then we have The Half King by Melissa Landers. When this one came out, only like, you know, mediocre reviews, and so because of that, it's like just continued to sit on my shelf. And yeah, it's gonna continue to do that if I don't just get rid of it. Then we have Crown of Oaths and Curses by Jay Bree. I think this is the Arcane Society, if I remember correctly. It was one that I got at a Polycon. We won't end up getting the second book in this beautiful edition, and also, like, I don't think the third book even has been announced, and there was a really big mess up with the second one with its release. And yeah, because of that, I haven't started the series other than reading the first novella. Yeah, I'm gonna let this one go. Someone else can love it. And then lastly, I have Windweaver by Julie Johnson. I read this one for my TBR swap at the beginning of the month, and it was just fine. I really wanted to love it. It has so many buzzwords that I should love, but it was just a mediocre book for me. And so because everyone else is loving it, I will let it go to somebody else who absolutely love this book. I'm basically stopping my camera every single time that I finish a stack now because I'm afraid that this is gonna happen again. Anyways, we're moving on. These are just the regular romanticies now. We have Shadow in the Ember by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I own the rest of this series in hardback, and then this one randomly in the short paperback. So we're just gonna replace it. That makes more sense, right? Court of the Vampire Queen by Katie Robert. This one I have the really pretty deluxe hardcover, and I didn't like it enough to have 2 editions, so it doesn't need to take up space. This Woven Kingdom by Tahara Mafi. I had the FOMO for this at the beginning of the year because everyone was talking about it, and then again with the YA, it's just not something that I'm gravitating towards, and so it's gonna end up like sitting on my shelf for a while. I also heard like mediocre things about the sequel, and so that makes me even less excited about it. Enchantra by Kaylee Smith. This is the second book following Phantasma. I read this one a few months ago for a new release vlog, and it was fine. I did like it more than Phantasma, which I think is like an unpopular opinion, but it's not one that I need to keep on my shelf. I was pretty ruthless about books that, like, if I didn't love them, if I did not give them 5 stars, I don't have room for them to still sit on my shelf. I don't. So like this one, Blood on the Tide, Hunt on Dark Waters, Blood on the Tide. This is like a pirate romantasy. I read these within the last couple of months. This one was fine. This one I didn't like, and I'm not going to continue on with the series. Sanguine by Sierra Simone. This is a little short story that I will probably just put in with, like, if somebody else, if they like order a vampire romance, then I'll put this one in there with it. It's like a little bonus. This is something that I got, I want to say, at a Polycon. I think this one was a Polycon. And it's a little short story. It's a male-male vampire romance. It was actually quite a good time. But I don't, it's a little tiny short story. I don't need to keep it on my shelf. And then a couple of books that I have just because I own other copies of them. So Blood of Hercules by Jasmine Mass. I bought the Barnes & Noble collector's edition, and then same thing here. One Dark Window, Two Twisted Crowns. I have the Barnes & Noble deluxe edition for that. This one I will definitely read in the fall, but I don't need multiple copies of books that I have not read yet. And then Book of Azrael by Amber V. Nicole. I read this one when I started it. I read about 100 pages and I DNF'd it. So yeah, I know everyone loves this book. I'm so sorry. It was not for me. And then the Hurricane Wars by Thea Guanzon. The only reason I'm getting rid of this one is that they did announce that they're going to redo it with the sprayed edges, because this was kind of published before the sprayed edges got really big, and Monsoon Rising has sprayed edges, and so this one doesn't match. So I'll just replace it when it comes out. All right, then I have a short stack of contemporary romances, and by contemporary, I do mean contemporary-ish, because I'm starting out with One Pucked Up Pack by Sarah Blue. It's contemporary, it's a hockey romance, but it's also a megaverse. I enjoyed this. I gave it 3.5 stars, but the rest of the series won't look like this, so there's no reason for me to keep this one, and someone else that loved the book can take it home with them. Whirlwind by Kayla Gross. This one I read at the beginning of the year and only gave it 3 stars. Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. This is her book from last year, I believe. And it's a surprise pregnancy, which is not really a surprise because it's in the synopsis, right? It's a surprise to the character. And in this current moment of my life, that's just not something I can read right now. And then Loath to Love You by Allie Hazelwood. This is like her 3 short stories that I could just get on Hoopla or Kindle Unlimited if I wanted to. I think I got this for like Book Outlet, one of their sales, and I don't need a physical copy of that. Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. listen, I know that people love this book and I will probably still read it. I just don't need to own a physical copy of it. I know that people love this book. I know that people love her books. Sometimes they're a little bit too hard for me, like a little hard hitting. And when I read contemporary romance, I want light and fluffy. That's not usually what Abby is. Deep End by Allie Hazelwood. I do love this book. I gave this one 5 stars, but I got the totally smut version, I think is what it's called, from Katie over at I Would Rather Be Reading. She just gifted it to me. She just sent it to me. And so I was like, well, I don't need 2 copies of it. Wild Love by Elsie Silver. I had this copy and then, I don't know if you can see that right here. I still own it. This one did not have the pretty mountains on the spine, and I didn't realize that was a thing when this book came out, and so I decided to like just replace it. I found the one with mountains on Pango. Muses and Monsters by Rose Gravestone. I did love this book. I gave it 5 stars. I will replace this one. The problem is that the other 2 books in this series I got from Barnes & Noble. This one I got from Amazon, and so this one is much taller than the other 2, so I'm just gonna replace it. Then The Confidence of Wildflowers by Michaela Smelter. This is a dark contemporary romance that's on Kindle Unlimited if I wanted to read it, but I have had this on my shelves for years and never really wanted to pick it up. And then Business or Pleasure by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This is another one that like I thought I was going to love, and then I think that her books are just, her writing style is just not for me. It's a little bit too quirky. That's the word. And then The Ride of Her Life by Jennifer Dugan. I actually just recently purchased this one and then I read it and didn't really like it. It was fine. It's there are better sapphic romances out there. This isn't one of them. Anyways, that is my unhaul. That's a lot of books. I'm gonna post these on Pango, and if you saw something that you liked, go check it out if you're in the US. Anyways, I'm so sorry to anyone who's not. If you want to stick around, I'm going to put a video right here that YouTube thinks that you're going to like. Go ahead and check that out. I will see you over there. If you're new here and you have not yet subscribed, there's a little button that you can do so down below the video. If you'd like to hang out with me more, the links to my Instagram, my Goodreads, my Threads, and my Patreon are linked in the description below. Also linked down below is going to be that link for Pango. You can get $5 off with that affiliate code. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!